Hi, why don't you grab a cup of coffee and we're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to become a hypnotherapist. And I've been a hypnotherapist. My name is Mary Lee LeBay. You see it on the screen. I've been a hypnotherapist since 1997. And before that, I was practicing past life regression and doing a lot of other work like psychic work. I'm an astrologer, a tarot card reader. But in 1997, I achieved my certification as a clinical hypnotherapist. And then in 1999, as a certified instructor of hypnotherapy. And so I get a lot of questions about who qualifies to be a hypnotherapist and how do you go about doing that? Well, the qualifications are pretty simple. You don't need a college education. You don't need to have any other background, particularly. I would recommend probably a high school diploma, but there are people who are younger than that that are still in school that are becoming hypnotherapists. They may not be able to have as successful a practice, but the techniques they'll learn are going to be invaluable through school, through their lives. And so what happens is as we age or, as we grow older, we acquire different skills, wisdom, and experiences that will also feed into how well we do hypnotherapy and how successful we can become. Now, with no other background needed, what you do need is a really solid education. In order to be ethical, to have skills to really help your clients, you're going to want to get the best education available and have it be really well-rounded so that you are armed with all the techniques that you would need in order to become a really successful and effective hypnotherapist. So let's take a drink of coffee. Today I'm drinking a cafecito de Puerto Rico. It's a Puerto Rican coffee, which is very valuable and delicious. Okay, so we're talking about the education. So before we start into that, the people that come through my training do typically have some background. Okay, so now maybe they're a mother that is a mother or father, a parent who is transitioning into a career. Maybe their kids have grown, or maybe they're off to school and they want to have something productive to do during the day when the kids are away. Or a lot of people that come into my trainings are coming out of corporate jobs, high-tech work, other fields of employment where they're feeling burned out. Maybe they don't feel satisfied or fulfilled, that they're really achieving their purpose, that they're really doing some work that sings to their soul. And they know that they want to do healing work or coaching work or some other way of helping people overcome their problems. And so a lot of people who want to be healers and helpers are coming through the course. Some people are artists and they're going to incorporate their art with therapy. And a lot of people, I have trained so many life coaches because they're finding that they are very helpful with their clients in helping them with business or through their lives, but they're finding that their clients come up against a wall and maybe there's some resistance in achieving their accountability for the week. Maybe there's, uh, you know, just some emotional baggage, some things that are holding them back from being able to coach these, or being, for these people to be coached uh, effectively and efficiently so that they can move forward and get past blocks. I've also trained a lot of massage therapists. They find that their bodies are really getting tired because it has a big impact on their body, doing massage all day long, every day. Um, Also, during COVID, they could not see their clients. And so they were out of business for what, a year or two? And so a lot of people came to hypnotherapy, but they're combining the hypnotherapy with their massage techniques because those pains, and especially chronic pain, relentless muscle tightening, those conditions will have a psychological and emotional component to it. And so now they have the hypnotherapy techniques to relax the client into a deep trance while they're while they're massaging. And then when they come to some place where that has become chronic and they want to investigate and release that on a deeper level, they're using the techniques that they've learned in my course. Other people that have come through my training are naturopaths, acupuncturists, um, any kind of health practitioner, dietitians, they're weight loss coaches. Um, who else? I used to teach my certification trainings at Bastyr University, and it was a premier university for training naturopaths, acupuncturists, nutritionists, and all of those complementary medical degrees. And so those people were coming through my training and finding it was helping them to help their patients as well. I also taught at Bellevue College. And so for a span of around 20 years, I was teaching at these two different institutes of higher education, and really, able to spread these wonderful techniques, having other people going out in the world and also reaching other people who need to have this kind of help. So, whatever your profession is or whatever your calling is, the hypnotherapy is definitely going to be a wonderful addition. And so let's talk about that. So, other things to talk about. So, the regulation around hypnotherapy is different depending on the state that you live in or the province you live in, and sometimes the country you live in. So I know of some European countries where you have to be a licensed medical physician in order to also practice hypnotherapy. In the United States, it's regulated by state. And there are a couple of states, I think, that have some pretty strict rules around it. And some states have nothing at all. You just practice. I'm here in the state of Washington, and for us, we need to register with the Department of Health. And I think there are some other states that do that. And we register for a nominal fee around $100, and they do a background check. So I think that's not a bad idea. They do a background check just like they would with a counselor, and make sure that you're safe to work with people, I guess, that you don't have anything in your background that is questionable. Otherwise, you can just learn the techniques, learn how to become an awesome hypnotherapist and open up a practice. And what's lovely about that is you get to call your own hours. You can be anywhere in the world and practice. You get to go on vacation when you feel like it. You can expand your business exponentially just depending on what else you want to do. For instance, I've written 6 books, so I have a second stream of income that way. I've done public speaking. Uh, I can present at conferences. I put on workshops. You know, on and on. You can do podcasts, radio interviews, television interviews. I've done all of that. So you can promote yourself. You can expand what you're doing, and so the sky is really the limit. I know hypnotherapists that have made millions of dollars. I've done pretty well myself. But what is lovely is something like COVID, where people were losing their jobs. And for me, I just transitioned from seeing people in person to seeing people over Zoom. And my practice, my personal practice, is everybody is seen over Zoom. I don't see anybody in person anymore. And it works out for my lifestyle. Other people may want to have an office presence. They might want to see people in person. But I find that it works just as effectively over Zoom. In fact, even before COVID, I was seeing clients. I was seeing clients in Europe and Canada and around the United States and Mexico and Puerto Rico. I was all over the place. And so they weren't able to fly in for their sessions. And so we were doing Skype or Zoom at that time. Then COVID came along, and everybody just got used to doing everything on Zoom. And so it's just been a great experience. For me, just a little side note on that, I think it's actually preferable to do Zoom, not only for myself, because I don't have a lot of extra time taken up with, fetching water and blankets and changing things out and, making everything perfect for somebody to come into my space. But what is even more important is that the clients don't have to get out in traffic. They don't have to fly into my area first of all, but even if they're local, they don't have to get into traffic, which is really, a consideration these days. They're not, expanding their footprint in that way, right? But even more importantly, at the end of the session, when they have been in this beautiful trance state, we've done all this transformational work. I really didn't like, having to check my client, make sure that they were okay to drive, and send them off back into traffic, back into stress. They were probably going to stop at the store to pick up their, run errands, go grab the kids, whatever it is. Now they can just kick back, have their cup of tea, do a little journaling, and relax and just let that good work filter in and integrate for them. So for me, I think it's really important that we do it this way. And there just hasn't been any problem. There's just equal success with every client. Okay, so what does it take to get the right education? Now, this is really the important piece, because if you're going to become a hypnotherapist, you do have some choices, and you do need to be discerning as to how you're being educated. So the primary 2 categories, right, there's what I call the old school way, of hypnosis where you would interview your potential client. They're going to tell you what their issue is, what they want to achieve, and you're going to interview them, and you're going to need a lot of detail. Their fears and phobias, their likes and dislikes, all sorts of detail. And then you're going to go and spend an hour or two either looking through tomes of script books for the perfect metaphor, or you're going to be writing an original metaphor story. And then when you're working with your client, you're going to read them this story. You're going to put them in trance and you're going to read them this script. I would say the majority of hypnotherapists have been trained this way. When I was trained in 1997, that was the primary way we worked, okay? I found it very clunky. I found it awkward, and I found it nerve-wracking, not even to mention time-consuming, okay? Because you're sitting there looking for this perfect script or writing it and thinking, I've got to have all of the correct elements. I need to, deliver this story without triggering them. And in the end, you bring them out of trance and you're not really sure if anything has happened, right? They've just been kind of comatose. They've been just listening to your story the whole time. And they come out and it's like, well, let's see what happens over the next week or two and see if this was effective. So when I was launching my career in 1997, I was finding this to be just, like I said, nerve-wracking. And so I very quickly started integrating other modalities like NLP, which I had had some training in that, but I really honed up on NLP and all these different techniques from a lot of different sources, and Ericksonian hypnosis, and devised a way that my work could be completely client-centered, no more scripts, okay? So when we go into, so this is the other one. Remember, we have the script, old-fashioned way, and then this is the client-centered, heart-centered, new way of approaching hypnotherapy. So now a client comes to me and maybe they express, well, of course, we're going to discuss their wish list, what they want to attract into their lives and what they want to release from their lives. And this could be, attracting money and relationships and happiness and all good things, right? And then releasing health issues, relationship issues, dysfunction, childhood issues, shock, that any kind of stress, and even past life issues. But also we want to attract, and learn about what is their purpose and how can we orient them so that they are moving towards that purpose every day, so that their profession, their energy, their goals, and their actions and words and thoughts are all in this positive direction towards their purpose. So I've collected over the years, and so now 97, we're going on 30 years of collecting all of these techniques and tools. And I put the whole thing into one training. So my students can come in and learn how I have very, very successfully been operating and helping my clients on a very deep level create the transformation that they want in their lives. And I've bundled together all the techniques that I use. And so with this one training, you won't have to go out like I did and search for other ways of working with your clients so that you can get past certain barriers or blocks or resistance or whatever. So it saves you years of investigation and thousands of dollars worth of having to go out and get training from all these other people. And it's all bundled together so that you can address every issue that will show up on your doorstep. So every client that comes in, unless they are clinically diagnosed as schizophrenic, where this clinical diagnosis is beyond our scope of practice, we will be able to handle and help these people. Now, some cases, of course, we're going to be doing that in collaboration with their other medical team, but we will be able to help them. And the majority of my clients, I can help them just on our own. Everything from, emotional stress, overthinking, hypervigilance, pain, blocks, relationships, everything, right? And we can have some very miraculous healings. In fact, I'm going to tell you a really quick story about a client. Actually, she's a student graduating from my program. And I was teaching how to desensitize PTSD and stress, and how to support clients who are going to have surgery, pre-surgery and then post-surgery, so that the surgery is really smooth and the results are even better than expected. And I've had great results with this. And so I needed to have a demonstration. And so I was just keeping my fingers crossed, because you never know if somebody in class is going to be able to have the correct issue to help me demonstrate a certain technique. Well, my student raised her hand and she said, I have an issue where my finger is a trigger finger. So it was stuck. I can't do it. It was stuck in some kind of frozen position, and there was a marble-sized lump on the pad of her finger on her hand there. And so the quick story is, she had taken a fall at work and was bruised all the way down her right side. She had taken a really heavy fall. And then she had this problem with her hand. And the bruises went away, but the medical team decided they needed to do surgery on her hand to release this finger. That's what they do. My husband is a medical doctor. That's what they do. They go for surgery or pharmaceuticals, right? And so God bless them. We need our physicians. However, there is the psychological, emotional component there that was not addressed. So the surgery worked for a while. So she had her flexibility back. And then, I don't know, some weeks or months later, the hand froze up again. And she was given a cortisol shot. Again, it was released for a while. And after a couple of weeks, the frozen finger came back again. She called it a trigger finger, and she had that marble-sized lump. And so she said, hey, let's see what we can do. And for me, I thought, well, it would have been better to prepare her before the surgery. It's always better to do it preemptively, right? So prepare her before, but let's go see how much help I can give her afterwards, post-surgery, because she had gone back to her doctor, and the doctor said, there's nothing else we can do except we can go in and do surgery again, right? And she was like, I don't know, I don't really want to do that. So I said, okay, well, let's give it a try, right? And I'm doing this in front of the audience of my other students, and I'll tell you a little bit about how that works. But so we went in there, we applied specific techniques that I was teaching the group, And we did this in 25 minutes. Her finger had released and the marble disappeared. My students were like, that was a miracle. And my client student, the one I was having for the demonstration, was shocked. She was, when we started, she had this lump and she couldn't move her finger. And then she goes, oh my God, I can move my hand. Look at this. I have talked to her. It's been over 3 weeks. And she said, I'm clear. There's nothing wrong. What we had done was we had gone in and had a conversation with her subconscious mind. And we found out why it was doing this, why it was creating this response. And it was the shock response of having the fall. It thought that it was protecting her. It wanted to do a good job for her. It was just doing it in a way that wasn't working very well. And so it agreed to release, and it did it on the spot. Even I was a little bit surprised, and like a lot of my clients will surprise me with the instant results. I always stay in wonder because it's so fun to watch this happen. And I don't take it for granted and go, oh, well, of course this is happening. It's not always going to happen, right? Sometimes I really thought with her that we would get some relief and a lot of information, especially we only had 30 minutes to work. And I thought, let's just do it as much as we can. And I could see her again later, or she could work with another one of her students. They do practice sessions. And I thought then they could complete the work and we'll get a result. It happened in 25 minutes before the session was over with. And so this is the sort of thing that we can accomplish. And imagine if these talents and skills are in the hands of naturopaths and medical doctors and massage therapists and people, chiropractors, people who could really benefit their patients by having these techniques. But here we are. I'm not a medical doctor, and I can give these results to my clients. And so let's talk about the training a little bit. So I offer a training, the complete business in a box training, and it's online, so you can access it anytime, and you will have ongoing access. So as you go through it, you can go back and review. In a year from now, if you think, oh, there was another technique and I don't remember how it went, let me go back and check. You will be able to go back and have, review that whole course, review any part of the course. In the meantime, 3 times a year, I give live support calls. So whoever's registered can get on these. We have a series of 10 calls weekly for 2 hours each. And we go through all the different techniques. I demonstrate them. I answer everybody's questions. We have conversations. We talk about challenges. I teach new techniques that aren't included. When I learn something new, then when you're on the call, I'll include some of that. And what's really cool about that is I give free access to those calls to anyone who's been registered or has gone through the course. You can repeat those calls. So I've had students come through the calls like 5 times. There's somebody going through them right now. I think she's just finished her 4th time. And what they tell me is every time they come to the calls, they notice that they're learning something new. And it's a different energy because we have different people involved. Different students are showing up. They have different questions. I'm doing different demos. And so there's something to learn every time. And I highly recommend you go through the calls at least a couple of times. And the reason is the first time, there is such a wealth of information that you're going to be given in this course. It's a lot, and I recognize that. And so as you're going through, you're absorbing what you can. And on the calls, you're listening and you're learning and you're getting it. But, after you get out and you're working with clients or you're doing more practice sessions, um, you're getting more experience, and then some of it, maybe you didn't remember everything, or there's just, you've learned at a certain level. And when you come back to the calls, people say, oh my God, I'm hearing details that I just couldn't absorb the first time. Now that I've had more experience, I've practiced this, and I'm hearing you talk about it this time. Now I'm hearing these nuances and these details that I just couldn't absorb the first time through. So you get lifetime access to the calls. So some people go through, they skip a while, they come back after a few months, and then they go through again. You can come back anytime. And when you're registered for the calls, they're all recorded. And so anyone who is registered for the calls, even if you miss a class, you can't come to every single one of them. You can listen to the recording later on your own, and you can get credit for that. You just write a little report like, oh, we talked about this and this and this and this happened, and then I give you credit for listening to the replay. So the core, and then the other benefit is we have a Facebook group that is only my students and graduates. So they've all had a similar training, and you can go on there and you can ask questions. You can post announcements, like maybe you're giving a workshop or you're opening a business. Maybe you want to, you found an interesting article and you want to share that with the group. You can ask questions, your challenges. I respond to all the questions. Other students respond to the questions. We're a very supportive group. We are not competitive, we're cooperative. All right. There are more than enough clients out there for all of us. And so we support each other in making each of us a successful hypnotherapist. So you have all those bells and whistles, and you're going to learn what I call the hypnotic envelope. So how to put a person into trance, get them to their safe space. And these are all client-centered. So they're describing the safe space. They get an empowerment symbol that is a certain energy, and they go to a sacred healing place where we're going to do the work, because we don't want to do the work in their safe space, because they're in a safe space and suddenly they're bringing in some antagonist in their life, or some problem that they have to deal with. We want to leave that safe space pristine. So we take them to the safe place, get them relaxed, and then we get them to the sacred healing place where they can do their work. Now, this is just getting them into the trance state. And there's some other ways that we can deepen it if they need, and some other ways that we can work with this. There's many, many ways, and you're learning a lot of ways, but this is sort of how I do it. And then we can launch into the techniques. And so the hypnotic envelope is, going into these techniques, taking them into trance, and then at the end, we're going to emerge, and there's kind of a protocol to do that. And in the middle is the juicy center where we do the healing work. And so then you're taught, probably more than a dozen techniques that come from shamanic work, NLP, hypnotherapy, psychology, coaching. We have all these techniques that we're going to work on in the middle with our clients, depending on what their goal is. And then, like I say, we bring them out the other side with a few different steps that will help solidify the learning and the transformation, really embody that, and then bringing them out extremely successful. Now, you may have heard that some people cannot be hypnotized, and I was taught that in my course, and I had a wonderful course. It was 300 hours clinical for my very first training, and then all these other trainings afterwards. But even within our community, people, hypnotherapists, still believe that there are people that cannot be hypnotized. And again, when I started my practice, I thought, what a disservice to the public, because at the same time, we know, excuse me, at the same time that we're saying some people cannot be hypnotized, we're also saying that we're in trance all the time. We drive past our exit on the highway, we pull up in the driveway, and we can't really remember driving home. And not because we're drinking or anything, but because our mind is off in another world and we're on autopilot. Same as our morning routine. We just get up, and if we don't change anything, we're just thinking about the day, we're making plans, we're, doing other things with our minds, and then suddenly we're ready to go, and we're like, I don't remember whether I brushed my teeth or not. So we're in trance all the time. And so how can it be that some people cannot achieve trance when we're in trance a lot of the time, right? So in fact, all of our knee-jerk reactions, and if somebody does something and triggers me and I blow up, that's all unconscious. That's me being in some trance about who I am. In fact, our personalities are a level of trance state, our self-esteem. So anyway, I just realized we've got to figure out how we can get everybody into trance. And so, my motto at my office now is that you will go into trance. There are no failures here. And what happened was I figured out a way and have techniques, and I tell my clients, if it doesn't feel like you're going into trance, or if I sense that you aren't, I have other ways to get you there, right? So we have plenty of ways to make sure that every client goes into at least some level of trance that will allow us to do productive work. Now, having said that, I do notice that I don't see people for a single session, all right? Other hypnotherapists might. It's a personal prerogative, how you run your business. But I think it's important to have follow-up and follow through. But what I'll tell my clients is the first time you come to my office, you'll probably go to a certain depth of trance. And it's just normal, They're thinking, what is she doing? Where am I going to go? Is this really safe? What if I say something embarrassing? Am I doing it right? So they have all these questions, even though they're relaxing and we're doing a successful, we're being productive. The next time they come in, they're going to go a little bit deeper. It's like, oh, I get it. I know what she's going to do. I know what this is going to be like. And they're more relaxed. And by the third time, they're like, sometimes I have people that when I'm just talking to them, they're like, just hearing your voice now puts me into trance. I'm so used to you guiding me into hypnosis. And so by the third time, they're just going in and they're going to much, much deeper places. And we're getting into the really juicy material that can really create deep transformation for these clients. But there's no concern about whether we're going to be able to get you into trance or not. And so these are the techniques that I teach you. Now, this is all the hypnotherapy and NLP and all of that you're going to learn. I have coupled that now with my really extraordinary past life regression training. And at Bastyr University and Bellevue College, those were two different trainings. You would pay for one and then you'd pay for the other. You would have to, come to both of those classes. Well, over time, I realized that if you are going to be a truly successful hypnotherapist, you need to be able to handle people who go into past lives. Sometimes they go in there spontaneously. And if so, you want to be prepared and you want to be masterful in how you proceed with that. At other times, we need to get them into past lives because they're, maybe the root cause of what they're going through is it has originated in past lives. For instance, alcohol addiction. Just a quick little side story. When our soul is made up of an infinite number of past lives, we have memories from an infinite number. Any psychic that tells you you're on your 12th lifetime or something, you need to get a new psychic because that's not true for anybody. So we have an infinite number of past lives. And we're living on one of those, just a speck on this. I always call it like a diamond with an infinite number of facets. And we're living on one facet and think this is it, this is what it is. Well, how do you know who you are, what your purpose is, what makes up your personality, what, caused you to choose this incarnation? What are your true gifts and talents and skills and really the challenges that are still affecting you? How would you ever know that unless you know more about all these other lifetimes? And so when people really want to do deeper work, we're going to have to take them into past lives. And the other part that's really fascinating for me is that when, I've been on a self-awareness, self-growth process or journey all my life. I mean, since I was a teenager, I was doing these things. And yet it's so hard to see who we are. Oftentimes we get that feedback from other people. Oh, you're such a bitch, or, you're always in a hurry, or you're such a sweet person, or whatever. We're getting this feedback from others so that we can, we look and we go, oh, maybe I need to fix something, or maybe I need to do more of that, or something like that. But when we look at ourselves in other lifetimes, we can see our personality, we can see our character so much clearer. And so rather than waiting for feedback from other people, we can go into those lifetimes. And that's where we're going to find the really true information about our soul purpose. And our soul purpose isn't just how we function, what job do we take, that sort of thing. It's really a grander pursuit and goal. And so anyway, it's very, very important to be able to guide people into these experiences. And one of the unique things that I did was I had been doing past life regression 10 years before I got my certification as a clinical hypnotherapist. And for those 10 years, basically, I had experienced a lot of past life, and then other people in my social group were saying, oh, I want to try that. Can you guide me? And, I just did what was done on me, I did for them. And then other people, were actually paying me to take them into past lives. I had gotten very good at it, and it was fun, and it was part of a very passionate pursuit for myself. However, when I got the certification in hypnotherapy, clinical hypnotherapy, the bells and whistles just like blared. And I married these two in a way that is so effective First of all, because we will get people into trance, we will get people to view their past lives, but we can also do the healing in those past lives. So now this diamond of lifetimes, these facets, though there are many of them that are affecting who we are today. And the easiest way to correct that is to correct that in other lifetimes so that it's not pulling us towards addictions and bad habits. So a topic such as alcoholism, which is a very big topic, and addiction work is some of the things that we do as hypnotherapists. If you're trying to help somebody get off of alcohol or quit a bad habit like that, an addiction really, um, all by itself, you're going to continuously be fighting this deeper soul pull, right? So who we are right now is reflective of who we've been in other lifetimes. If you have a serious addiction in this lifetime, you are going to have addictions in other lifetimes. It's not a one-off where you've got an infinite number of really healthy and well-balanced lifetimes, and in this particular one, you are addicted to alcohol. No. So what'll happen is you'll find that there's addiction in other places in your soul, other lifetimes that you've experienced. And what we need to do to help these people is to go into a number of those lifetimes and actually apply the therapy techniques there. And that was the big marriage that I did when I married the past life with the hypnotherapy. Now, for instance, we'll go into a past life, find out, one of the first lifetimes where there was some type of stressor or, PTSD of some sort, some trauma that then they said, I'm going to turn to this addiction. Or maybe they were so upset about something, somebody gave them a drug or alcohol or something, and then they got addicted. And then in life after life, they got to that same point of challenge, of trauma, and then they turn to the same kind of substance. And so what we need to do then is we go into all those other lifetimes and we make the corrections. Now, when we help the person in this lifetime with the addiction, they don't have that draw, that pulling down, that influence from all those other lifetimes. We're just dealing with them in this lifetime. And it's so much more powerful. Now they can just, it's almost like we can just flip the switch now. Of course, we're going to do some therapy in what triggered it in this lifetime, because even though it may have started somewhere else, then it gets triggered in the current lifetime. But we need to fix all those other instances and then address what's happening in this lifetime. So the bottom line is you are going to get a full education on past lives, how to go there, how to do healing within them, how to go between lives, what happens there, how to remember that, how to navigate that. We get into a lot of spiritual influences. We don't deal with that strongly in this course. I have a different course where we handle that. But within this, we're going to learn about time, space, principles, multiple universes, how to navigate and move to a different timeline, which is a lot of the work that we're doing. And so it's powerful work. Most people come out with transformation of their own, that they come away with, well, like my student who came away with her finger fixed and no more medical intervention. I mean, that's powerful. Um, Other people have had just, well, in fact, every student will notice and experience profound change because um, because you're getting a lot of that work done on you. Not only are you getting the education and just, this mind-blowing amount of, tips and techniques and tricks and, ways of handling things, how to communicate, all of this, they're also doing, in order to graduate, you'll do 30 practice sessions or 30 hours of practice sessions. So if you have a 2-hour session, then that's considered 2 hours towards the 30. And so they're doing practice sessions. And so you can be the client or the practitioner. And so a lot of people are getting their own work done while they're going through the course. So it is very transformational on a number of levels. So if you're interested, I think that's probably pretty good for today. I've covered a lot of ground. And if you're interested, first, just one last moment. It's a 200-hour course. Okay, so it meets the requirements of almost every national organization. So you can join the national organizations, be a professional member, go to their conferences and conventions. There's just all sorts of fun things you can do with that. So usually the groups, the associations require 100. So this is far more information and techniques and practice. So you'll receive a 200-hour certificate. Within that is required the 20 hours of live calls or replays that you'll listen to, and 30 hours of practice. There are, then the rest of it is course material online. There's videos, audios, reading materials. I did have a dyslexic, I have a dyslexic student that said she was having trouble reading the material, but she incorporated some app that will read it to her. So those are possibilities as well. Anyway, you'll go through the course material. There are a few quizzes. They're not terrible. Everybody's passing them, but it does just, go back and solidify what you learned in that module. And so when you go through the course, you complete the class material, you've done your 20 hours of calls or replays and 30 hours of practice sessions, you'll get your certificate as a certified master hypnotherapist and a certified master past life specialist. And so you'll get 2 certificates. They're very powerful, and you will be up and running, and the sky is the limit after that as to what you want to do with your certification, your education, and your career path. And so if you do want to talk more about this, if you have questions, I'm going to include a link to the training so you can see everything that we're going to cover. But you can also schedule a free consultation with me, a training call, where we can talk about your career goals, what you want to achieve, where you want to go, and maybe you have questions about how you're going to incorporate this into your present career, if whether you're a coach or a healer or a psychic or an artist or whatever it is that you're doing already, how to incorporate that. And we can get started. We can get you going. So thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. If you have any questions, be sure to schedule a training call. And I hope to see you in one of the classes one day soon. Thank you.